For thousands of years, humans have written stories of magic and fantasy, our imaginations helping us escape to a new world that is more exciting and more novel than the world we currently live in. But I truly think the world we currently live in is just as magical as the ones we try to escape to. For tens of thousands of years, humans have been making consistent advancements that when looked through with a specific lens can seem downright magical. Our magic is named science, and while certain spells might not be instantaneous, the things we've worked out how to do can sometimes seem straight out of a fiction book. This is the podcast of Science and Sorcery, and I'm your host, Aaron Rama. In each episode, I'll be exploring an advancement or some sort of development humans have made over the years we've been on this planet and trying to paint a picture of the magic encompassed within. Sometimes topics might be explored through a metaphor, and sometimes I won't need to because it simply just doesn't need one. One of the goals I'm hoping to achieve is to try paint a picture of just how extraordinary the amount of advancements humans have made are, and just how much is developed in order for us to live in the technological and scientific paradise we currently live in. I think in current times it's a bit easy to get a bit down and out on humans with all that is happening around the world. So let's take a step back and look at some of the good things we've achieved throughout history. I want to instill a feeling into you of what I can only describe as hype, true excitement about what the human race has achieved and what more it can achieve in the future. One of my favourite quotes of all time comes from Arthur Clarke's 3 laws for science fiction writing, which is any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic, and I'm really hoping to example this through this podcast. However, it might be a bit easy looking at the modern technology we have today. We're currently inundated with technology these days that can seem downright magical, such as Wi-Fi, smartphones, the internet, cars, planes, and more. So we'll be starting in the early days of human development and exploring our first foray into the magical world of science, back when we didn't even know we were doing it. Science is all around us, and we use it consistently in our everyday lives. Sometimes it's easy to just think of science as something done by scientists in a lab with lab coats measuring bright liquids and beakers. But the truth is, the core of what science is much simpler. Science is the act of observing the world around us and designing experiments to try explain why things happen the way they do. One of my favorite examples is cooking, which is filled with science. We use different chemical reactions to enhance the flavor and textures of our food. And we use different ingredients to change the flavor and add nutrition, creating something completely different than what we started with. We take this for granted, but much of this is due to thousands of years of compound human knowledge, and when you start to dig into it, it can seem pretty damn magical. In this first season, we'll be looking at the first land druids who helped vanquish the dragon desecrating humanity, the invention of time travel, and the Beastmasters who tamed wild creatures, and much more. Before I wrap things up for this introductory episode, I'd just like to say that I'm by no means an expert on the topics we'll be covering. I'm just someone with a passion for technology and science who wants to share that with the world. I work as a software engineer, and often the tools I work with can seem absolutely magical, doing things I'd never think possible. I want to try capture that same feeling and apply it to other developments throughout history. However, because I'm not an expert, I'd highly recommend never taking my word as gospel truth. I endeavour to do the best I can to research appropriately, and will cite sources in the information for each episode on the podcast website of scienceandsorcery.com. If a topic interests you, I highly recommend looking into it more and trying to see what further information you can find. In this magical world of science, the strongest sorcerers are the ones who study the most. Well, that about finishes things for the first episode. Thanks for taking the time to check out of Science and Sorcery. I hope you continue to keep listening to the episodes I put out. This is a first for me, and so if you have any feedback, be sure to get in touch with me through the website. Stay tuned for next week's episode, where we'll be looking at the dragon that once desecrated humanity and how it was fought off by the first druids of the land.